Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another movie episode of Game My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, who's just starting their first year recording with me.
It's young cub reporter Kenneth Sanity here. Just starting first day out, here to help.
And I am everyone's favorite king of useless knowledge, Joe Butler.
And as always, as you might have noticed by now, if I have these two on, what we're talking about. So we are here to talk about Batman Year One, written by Tab Murphy, directed by Sam Liu. It was a movie that came out direct to DVD at the time by Warner Brothers in 2011. Back when they were doing that for that. Well, they're still doing it, but it was early on in that when they were starting to make a bunch of animated movies before they were connected. Because this is one of the earlier ones.
The 12th film released under the DC Universe animated original movies banner.
Okay.
Which was honestly kind of surprising. But this was actually the first like DC animated movie that I purchased digitally. I remember buying this on a Microsoft sale and watching it for the first time on my Xbox 360.
Nice.
I remember watching this back in, I want to say 2015. It was right before I met my wife, which I think was 2015. I don't even remember now. But it was right around that time that I was watching it because my life was shit and I was just downloading movies and watching them quickly and then deleting them. And this was one of the ones I watched. And I hadn't seen it since then.
I want to say this came on at maybe a Sunday or a weekday night on Toonami for me. Or Adult Swim. I'm pretty sure it was Toonami, but it was something that I know I watched on TV.
Okay. I mean, I remember watching it once. I remember liking it, and then I didn't remember much about it. But since we have played Arkham Origins and we have done more Year One Batman stuff or early Batman, it makes me way more interested this watch than I was before.
Just gonna say, this time watching it was a complete new eye-opener for me. Like before, when I watched it, it was fine. I enjoyed it. And I watched it twice today. I watched it before work, and then I watched it after work. And I don't know, something about watching it after work finally made something click for me. And the one issue that I had with this is now such a work of absolute genius that I can't wait to talk about it.
Okay, and I do want to put a quick warning, and there's a very good chance we're going to get political because this is a political movie at times. It talks about corrupt police and things, so I'm just going to put that out there. We might get political, or we will get political, so you have been warned. I mean, it will fit the context of what we're talking about, mostly, in our own belief, but it's because of the content. We can't not, and because I want to, so. I mean, one thing that really grabbed me with Batman Year One, I didn't remember a lot about it. I just remembered that it made Gordon look good, because this movie is very much early Batman and early Gordon. Like this movie is constantly jumping back and forth between Bruce Wayne and Gordon as they both come into Gotham for the first time. Like you have early scenes in this movie where Gordon is getting on a train going to Gotham. He's like, "Man, I made a mistake. I was, in Chicago. I was doing this job, and now I'm here in this shitty city." And you also have at the same time, it shows Bruce Wayne coming to Gotham for the first time in 12 years because he's been gone.
And the really cool thing about the way they do this is that you have, both methods of entry to the city almost depicted on a socioeconomic scale. You got Bruce Wayne flying high overhead of Gotham, looking down and, seeing the overall view of it, beautiful city, monuments, skyscrapers, but it all hides the real enemy. And then you have Jim Gordon down on the streets. Literally, people are picking fights on the train car he's on.
Yes.
So, you have both of these people from very different walks of life just descending on the city at the same time and seeing that, while one might have a higher vantage point, he still sees the problems.
This movie raises the main question that I have with every introduction to Batman. Why does anyone want to live in Gotham? At any given point, I don't understand why anyone wants to live in Gotham. Even before the supervillain stuff, the police are corrupt. the whole city is just covered in smoke and probably smells like ass. They're like half the buildings are like just vacant and like dilapidated. Like, who really wants to live here unless you're a rich person?
That's the thing. See, I don't think anybody wants to live there. I just don't think they can afford to do anything about it.
Yeah, I always felt this very much of people can't leave even if they wanted to. Like, they just don't have the ability to pick up and go.
That's fair, because really in most Batman movies, there's never a middle. There's never like an average dude who's like, oh yeah, I love going to school and like taking my wife out to eat while people beat the shit out of each other. It's always like really homeless people who are like down on their luck, or you have like the rich people who doesn't know their dad likes to smuggle cocaine for like Falcone.
Yeah, like even the 6-year-olds have, a voice like a pack-a-day smoker at this point.
I mean,
like to just walk around being like, let me tell you, Recess was a bitch today, ma.
It's such a bad city, though. But it works.
It really is.
I mean, and that's what, because I also been watching Gotham at the same time that we watched this movie, and that's also another reason why I asked you guys to do this, because I've been watching Gotham. Like, I need to rewatch Batman Year One because it's such a interesting take to see early Batman. I know this is based on a comic. I did not realize until this watching that it's pretty much almost panel for panel at times from the comic. Like, they did a very good job of reenacting what it is.
And we probably should say before we get too much more further, this was based on the Batman Year One comic book series, which was written by infamous comic dickhead Frank Miller.
I forget. He's an asshole, isn't he, kind of, or something?
Oh, he's a big asshole.
Okay.
Very misogynist, has some very unfortunate views about a lot of things in life.
Okay.
There's also, I've noticed he has a very weird story beat. One of them in here is probably one of the only issues I have in this entire movie, which we'll get to when we get there. But I have a weird question, because both of you are probably more familiar with Batman lore than I am. Why is Jim's wife's name Barbara?
His wife's always named Barbara.
Has it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he named his daughter after his wife.
Yeah.
Why not? He named his son after him.
Okay, so he is also, that's Jim Gordon Jr. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I also like it that she's married, or not, they're married, but that she's pregnant in this, and like the whole idea, like there's a comment way later in this movie where they say once you're a parent, you're never free, which like they do a good job of showing like why he's here, what he's trying to do, how he's like, I have a family I need to, work for and do this, and I feel like it plays very well with what's happening. I was also surprised to find out, because I didn't know this until literally right before we did this recording, the voice of Bruce Wayne is Ben McKenzie, the same guy that plays Gordon in the Gotham show.
Yep. Last time we were here, we were talking about a Red Hood that also played Batman. Now we're talking about a Batman that also played Jim Gordon.
It threw me off a little. I mean, I was like, why does his voice sound familiar? I'm like, this isn't Kevin. Like, this isn't Kevin Conroy. I'm like, but I know this voice. And it wasn't until I looked up, I'm like, oh, that's why I know this voice.
Say this is the perfect place to talk about my main issue with this movie the first few times I watched this.
Okay.
The character of Bruce Wayne is robotic as all shit. Like, his voice acting in the beginning, it sounds like somebody's just bored and reading lines. And then tonight when I was watching it, that's when it clicked for me finally. He sounds lifeless because he is. He's a robot. It's not until he actually puts on the cowl that he gets some emotion in his voice, some gravitas. He becomes Batman. He comes to life once he puts on the cowl.
Yeah, that's
and
a good
it's
way to
just
put it.
such a small, subtle thing that I never even caught until tonight.
I mean, because it makes sense. Because you have a scene where he's literally just sitting in a chair talking to a bust of his father, and he's like, "What do I do?" Because it really shows you how consumed he has been with their death. And I mean, this repeats the famous scene we've seen 100 times at this point, where they both get killed. But I feel like it fits very well into this movie because it is early Batman, and you need those scenes to tie together and to give you to show you how depressed he is with life. And the only reason he comes back is to kick ass in his city. That's the only reason he's here.
I always saw Bat because I agree with you, Kenny. I kind of thought it was boring But then, like, Bruce Wayne's voice always kind of, like, when I was watching the movie, especially when he's, like, putting on the makeup and everything, it kind of gave me, like a noir kind of feel, where, like, this feels like this movie could take place at any time, but I totally feel like this takes place in, like, the 60s.
That's fair.
It kind of has
Also
that
fair, yeah.
Batman animated series where you can't really tell what it is, but it doesn't look... Because, I mean, do they have cell phones? I don't think so.
Nah.
Okay.
Nope. Everybody's using landlines. Good old landlines.
I don't... Yeah, they never say a year, of course, but it does have that feeling like it's, you know, like you said, 60s, 70s.
Yeah, it's kind of a timelessness.
Yeah, which I like.
Because you have enough technology to have helicopters, but you also have enough technology to not, have cell phones that you can only communicate via landline, but you can take pictures and print them out of people. Like it's a weird blending of like technologies that gives us this weird timeless feeling that you could be watching Gotham City tomorrow and you don't know it.
Very good way to put it. I think that's part of the charm of this movie is that, and it also the fact that it doesn't really it is a Batman movie, but it's also very much a Jim Gordon movie. And I think that's what made me love this movie even more so, because I don't think Batman even shows up till maybe halfway through the movie or so. I mean, Bruce Wayne's there, but he's not. It shows you Bruce Wayne trying to be Batman, where he just puts on an outfit, gives himself a fake scar, and goes to go punch a pimp in the face, and then gets into a huge fight.
Like you do.
He also assaults a child.
Yes, he does. He was kind of a villain there.
Now, to be fair, that whole scene completely reminds me of was it that picture where there's like a guy trying to work Black Friday and he gets stabbed in the leg by a child, and like the picture is like, give up all faith in humanity and pepper spray a child in the face.
Yeah. I'm not going to agree with you.
But it was just, it does a good job. And I'm also glad that it didn't go down the route of just having, tons of different villains like it could have. One thing that it does that I think is very nice is that it really is focused on one mobster. Plus you have Loeb, who's always, it's always shown how corrupt he is. But it does a good job of focusing on the Roman, Falcone, which I like. At one time, I didn't like when Batman just did the mob thing. Like, I wanted more. I wanted... the big villains but now that I've gotten older, I'm like, hey, I'm completely fine with a Batman movie just dealing with the mob. Like, 100% okay with that. And that's what this movie does such a good job of.
What was that, Mike? The Joker sucks and you want to see a more realistic Batman?
I like the Joker, but we have covered multiple Batman movies on this show and Batman products and Jokers. And yes, we do handpick what we cover, but still, Joker's in a lot of things. Way too much.
And this is refreshing. So refreshing.
And the villains are so good because they all have motives. Like Falcone, is running the mob. Like that's what he does. And this has a very much, I know it's Batman Begins vibes for me too, which again, I know because Batman Begins is a prequel story, but it really does hit that bubble. And it makes me, again, I love Batman Begins.
Well, Batman Begins was, inspired a lot by Year One. At one point, there was going to be a live action Year One directed by Darren Aronofsky, which I will forever mourn that we never got.
That would have been cool.
Oh, God, that would have been so cool.
Hey, I think the Batman holds up really well.
I haven't seen it yet.
Mike,
don't get me started on the Batman because I want to talk about it so bad.
Mike, it is free on HBO if you have HBO.
I do. I just haven't watched it.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I just haven't got around to it yet.
Oh my God. Watch it. Cover it. We'll do it.
Okay. We'll talk later.
I'll record something tomorrow, damn it.
But with Batman Year One, you were also introduced early on to this, very, very early on, to this character Flash, which is like this Green Beret cop who's a fucking dick. He's corrupt as hell. He's the one that's working with Gordon right off the bat. And they do a good job of making you just hate his guts right away. And I like that. Where you have some monk trying to sell, a book or something to Gordon on the train station. He's like, fuck you, and pretty much throws him somewhere. Like, you see another scene where they're driving and he just stops and starts beating the crap out of some people at the street. Like, he's just so corrupt. And I think he's such a great character. He's so full of himself. And then when you finally see him get taken down by Gordon later, I love that. That to me, even though that guy should have been in a lot worse shape, like the whole thing because at one point Gordon starts to kind of not follow what the police are doing and doesn't want to be corrupt like they are, and so they get a little pissed at him. And Flash just goes under a bunch of his cronies, and Gordon's holding his own. He's like, it's been a while since I've done this, because Gordon's a soldier. And then he gets hit in the back of the head by a baseball bat, and they just beat the shit out of him with bats to teach him a lesson. And everything with that is just so good.
It was a really good scene. Once again, proving Mike Tyson's statement, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah. I really like the back and forth, because you also see a lot of like Gordon's inner thoughts. It kind of, I do like how this movie goes back and forth between him and Bruce. And I think it's funny that like the first scene of Gordon getting in a cop car is just like, oh yeah, we're all corrupt. Just take from the money pile and just don't worry about it. Just do what we all do. And then you have like another scene later on of like Flash just being like, yo, he's not pulling from the money pile. And I'm worried that like he's not going to be easily corruptible. And it's a funny conversation to see a cop have with his boss of, this guy's uncorruptible. What are we going to do?
And that's why they beat the shit out of him, all because but he's such an asshole, and I loved it. Like I and then when Gordon, what Gordon does, like after he's all beat up, you see him with the black eye and everything, and he goes and he follows him to where he's at, and then he just runs him off the road, and he's like, you know what? I need to give him a handicap. And I thought he was going to shoot him in the leg or something when he says that. He throws him the bat to give the guy a bat, and then he beats the shit out of him without, just hand-to-hand combat. I'm just like, ooh, this is good.
It was very satisfying.
I 100% see that as like a kind of a thing of, if I give him the bat, he'll get cockier, and I know I'll be able to beat him. Plus, it also proves that Gordon can totally handle it, because he was doing fine in the beginning, the group fight, because he holds his own a little bit, but of course, he gets jumped. But that one-on-one fight is completely amazing.
I mean, he makes comments about it throughout the movie where he's like, I fought Green Berets before. Like, I know what to look for. And that's also what I think really improved it, too. Like, the fact that you get so much Gordon and you get so much in depth to who Gordon is and how they never talk about what war he fought, and they never talk about what he did. They just say he was a soldier. He fought in a war. He killed people. Like, they make comments like that, but they never give you more details about what's going on. And I think that also is a good way of holding its own. He's just a really good character. And like with Flash, I loved seeing Flash get his ass beat. And I thought it was amusing how he handcuffs him and leaves him naked in the snow right next to his car. And I want to be like, I don't think that guy's going to be okay in the morning.
My favorite part is he goes like, and then he'll tell people he got jumped by 10 guys, because that's just the kind of guy he is.
He won't call this in. He won't do this. And of course he doesn't. He doesn't rat on him because, he would feel foolish that he got beat up by one guy. But also, if you were face down in the snow and just left there, I feel like you would not be okay.
He's also naked.
You definitely wouldn't be okay. I'm pretty sure you would be frostbitten pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's like a nice little world where Flash got frostbite on his dick and they had to amputate it, and it's a fun place to be.
That's so bad.
But you lay face down in the snow and you're just left there and he's knocked out. You're not going to be okay.
Nope. And Gordon doesn't care.
No, you beat the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the best thing. Like, Gordon is like beyond caring at this point. He gives absolutely zero fucks.
And like another thing this movie does very well is it keeps showing you different scenes where the date keeps changing, which reminded me of Long Halloween, to kind of show you that it's progressing, like what month it is and what's all going on. And I thought that was really good too. How it keeps jumping back and forth. Like, okay, you always know where you're at.
I really did think that was interesting. But I think the film also suffers for it a little bit. And I'll explain. There's a lot in this movie. It doesn't explain anything, really. It is a tight 64 minutes. This is an hour and 4 minutes long. That is about, a little bit more than a third of how long the Batman is. And yet this story manages to tell a more complete story than a movie more than twice as long as it. But this relies on you knowing more about Batman than Batman Begins does. Batman Begins walks you through it. It holds your hand guiding you through the voyage from Bruce Wayne to Batman. This movie does not, which is kind of refreshing, honestly.
Well, especially for us, people who come with, huge Batman fans at this point, I feel. I think it's safe to say. I mean, like, you absolutely, this movie you can pick up no matter what if you've seen Batman or not or have much knowledge. It's like, just like with the Red Hood, you'll get enough information to enjoy it without needing to know more.
But because it does only take place in, like, snippets of days over the course of the titular year one, it does feel a bit disjointed at times.
I mean, I see where you're coming from. I do disagree because I didn't feel that. Other than my notes, I had to keep writing down what dates it was. But I mean, I like the day feature. I like the fact that it's showing you that when Batman becomes Batman and what Gordon's doing and how long of these dates are in between when he had this incident with this corruption and this incident before this corruption. Like, I liked all that though a lot. So that could just be me though.
No, it absolutely works. I know what I said sounded like a criticism. I really didn't mean it like that. Just the way they chose to tell the story was like, it works for the film because it doesn't hold your hand through everything. It doesn't answer every question you have. All you know is that things escalate. And that's the important thing in this story. Things just continue to escalate.
I get it. And I like how you go from having one villain to another, kind of, but they're all, like, because first you have Flash being the villain for Gordon, and later on you have Brandon kind of becoming the villain for Gordon in a sense, and then more Loeb becomes that, while Batman doing his own thing off on the side where he's trying to take down this the mob and doing different little events. Like the first time he gets in the Batman suit, you have a little scene where he goes onto a fire escape, and pretty much he screws up because he almost kills a guy, tries to save him, and gets his ass beat, trying not to let the guy die. I thought that was really good to see Batman sloppy.
That was really messed up, by the way. Your friend fell over the side. This Batman has him by his foot. So what are you going to do? You worried about your friend? Hell no. Kick the Batman.
You're going to hit him with a TV, it looked like, or something. That's your solution. I agree. It was kind of like, wouldn't you want to like not let your friend die, But they did not care, apparently. But it's a good scene to kind of really... I realize I do like sloppy Batman. Like, Arkham Origins, does it. I'm assuming the Batman does it too, but I haven't seen the Batman, so I can't speak to that.
The Batman the Telltale game does it really well too.
Yes, they do. That's a good game.
It's a great game.
But, that's not something you see all the time. I mean, maybe I don't watch enough Batman products, but, I really like seeing that.
Can I talk about my least favorite part of this movie? Because it's like my least favorite part of this movie.
Sure, of course.
So we talked about dates. So I decided to look at your notes. My great notes, by the way. I don't understand the whole plight of like Jim cheating on his wife. Like, it's really thrown out of nowheres because you could probably have like one scene of like maybe Gordon having one fight with his wife, or even like maybe an inner monologue of like, which is awful in general, which is like, I just don't find my wife as attractive because she's pregnant. But like, there's a scene of her giving him a back massage and everything's fine and they talk. And like, the only thing really keeping him up his night is like, man, this city's so corrupt. And then, so I looked through the timeline. It's 2 months of him being with a female partner that he cheats on his wife.
It could be for two reasons to kind of show. One, it could be to show that he's not a perfect character. I mean, that could be what they're going for in the sense of it. Or it could be more of just how stressed he is with life, I guess. So he starts sleeping with someone else that he worked with. Because they share that bond that he can't share with his wife because he can't bring home the work.
Yeah, I get that. But it's just a really weird, like, oh, well, we have to have dirt on Gordon. We have to have the story beat of like us having to have dirt on him. But you probably could have gone with maybe anything else.
Like maybe he didn't shot the penguin and threw him off a dock like that instead. I guess they just needed to have dirt on Gordon to make those other scenes work. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it because, like, to me, I think it fit to me that here he is with someone who is in the same line of work he is. I mean, I didn't see it as a riff on like her being pregnant, so he's less attracted to her, but that does make sense, and it happens to people. So, like, I didn't think of that way, but that is very realistic.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say that I can see it both ways.
Okay.
Because on the beginning of the train ride in Gordon's talking about how he feels horrible about the idea of bringing a life into the world while living in Gotham. So it could be a sense of guilt that's pushing him away from his pregnant wife. It could also be, Mike, what you said, you spend enough time with somebody and he's clearly having to burn the midnight oil to catch this Batman person because Loeb is breathing down his back. He won't get him off the night shift. And it could have been that. I think it was to give a parallel to Batman. Because if you have Jim just being like the one honest cop in the history of the world, then he's too good. But you throw this at him, you see that, Jim Gordon is not perfect. And by this point, we already know that Bruce Wayne / Batman is not perfect. So what you have here is two imperfect men on two different sides of the law working together to accomplish a similar goal, to try to make a better world. One wants to make a better world so nobody's parents have to die again. One wants to make it a better world because he is a parent.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
I like that.
I mean, I also kind of saw it because I know this from experience. Like, if you have different shifts, especially if you're stuck working night shift, I mean, it can take its toll on a person. That's late second shift or third shift. It does things to relationship too. Like, when me and my wife first met, I worked second shift for a while and she worked first shift. And it's hard in a relationship. You have to make sure that you are a good person with time management. I am, as I have proven many times with the show. And I put that in there. And we made it work, but I can completely see how it can damage a relationship, especially when the woman's pregnant. I mean, that's why I had no issue with it. I completely just bought it and saw it okay, this makes complete sense. Plus, but like Ken said, is very much about wanting to show that he's not this perfect person in a way. He has a dark side too. It's just nothing compared to the corrupt police that you're dealing with in this movie. Because the corrupt police are really bad in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so bad.
I think that's what makes it a good film too. Is it's nice to see these. Batman going against the police really, and how he's not trying to kill him. Well, he's not trying to kill anybody. He's also trying, not to, damage them too bad, but he has to because they're corrupt. And it puts a different sway, and it really does make Batman look like a bad guy because he's taking out the police, who are always meant to be, the best of the best in a type of sense, which we know is not true. But that's what, it's very much trying to emulate and show you.
I think the whole thesis statement of this movie could pretty much be, it's complicated. Life is complicated.
Also, wasn't Flash in Arkham Origins, if I remember correctly, or was it just Brandon? I could look this up. I was just curious. I know one of them was in that for sure.
I do not remember Arkham Origins at all.
Good game.
I know Flash was in Batman Begins.
I don't remember Batman Begins. It's been a long time since I watched it.
Boy, we should cover it for the podcast, Mike.
You want that or you want the Batman more? Which one?
Don't you do that to me. That's unfair.
I don't want to start more trilogies, so I wrap up a few things first, but who knows? That's been on my list.
Well, then the Batman first, because that's a single one.
Yes, for now.
They confirmed the second one. It's been confirmed, finally. After
But it's not out yet, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. Well, speaking of comparing this to other Batman movies, I think I've brought it up a couple times. This has a really decent timeline for Batman, and I think it's kind of funny and interesting that I think this and I was just thinking about it. What's the other Batman movie that's from Batman animated series?
Mask of the Phantasm.
Mask of the Phantasm, where Bruce doesn't technically know League of Shadows. He just practiced a whole bunch of self-defense. In fact, I think there's a same scene of both these movies, it's Bruce just breaking a bunch of bricks in his backyard.
Yup.
But that's also a really good scene. When you see him training, he breaks a tree and he's I need to do something with my anger and I need to find a way to be, productive with it.
Well, that's because the League of Shadows was a relatively late addition when it came to the Batman mythology. Yeah, it's in the comics, but not until later.
Okay, I mean, I know League of Shadows, but I wasn't sure if he was trained by League of Shadows in the comics or that was a Batman Begins thing that they added.
Yeah, that was way back. I think they added that, but further back, Batman Year One, the original comic book was an adaptation of the original origin that Bill Finger and Bob Kane did.
Okay.
So you still have, Batman's parents dying, but it's all Frank Miller's fault because in his comic book, he never showed it happening. He only showed flashbacks to it. So it's fucking Frank Miller's fault that every goddamn Batman movie has to have a fucking flashback of his parents dying, a pearl necklace falling to the ground in slow motion.
They do love that pearl necklace.
They do love that pearl necklace.
Who doesn't love a good pearl necklace?
I mean, it's just like everything with Batman. Like when I was watching, like, oh, they're waiting for the pearl necklace. Oh, there goes the pearl necklace. I'm like, you just know what that's going to happen with his wife or mother.
Yeah. Yep. So it's all Frank Miller's fault, everybody. Write him something. Be angry at him.
And you blocked on Twitter by him? I think he blocked people.
Won't be hard.
One of the other things that I want to mention about this, too, is that you also get your first introduction to Catwoman. And she's really the only other character that you have here and the only one of Batman's rogue gallery, which I like. I like it that we don't get flooded. As I said earlier, we don't get flooded with characters. We just get Selina Kyle. And we get Selina Kyle when she's just working for a pimp with the other girl who really looked like he was under 18.
Oh, dominatrix Selina Kyle.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was like a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit.
It's supposed to bother you.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be friendly. It's fucking Gotham City.
Yeah, nothing's friendly in Gotham City. Oh, terrible place.
Even fucking around McDonald to try to kill you.
I mean, they do a good job of really showing you how bad the city is, though. And like when he first meets Selina Kyle, he gets into a fight with her, and she kind of kicks his ass pretty good. I mean, it's kind of a draw, but it's cool to see. I mean, I'm a big fan of Catwoman, and it was nice seeing Catwoman before she becomes Catwoman. And I did appreciate dominatrix Selina Kyle. I didn't have a problem with that at all. So,
Look,
I want to talk about this scene real quick.
Sure,
if we can. So this is the scene that we were talking about earlier, where Bruce Wayne assaults a child and beats the hell out of her pimp, which is, good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Do that if you have a chance. But it's funny because Batman's just like Bruce Wayne. He's not Batman. He's just got like a scar, changed his complexion. He's wearing like just a regular outfit. And the crowd turns on him. And I feel like this is the point where he realizes I cannot save the city as Bruce Wayne. I have to become something more. Because like he tried to help a child get out of prostitution. And the entire crowd turned on him, including the child.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the way that I took it was very much of, I mean, one, he's in the red light district and all, and he's coming in here just starting a fight. Like, some people are like, what the hell are you doing here? But yeah, when you add the child part, it makes everything a lot worse.
As it should.
Yes. I think it's just very much the idea of the show, really show you how bad Gotham is, that they don't give a shit. I mean, also, how many cities really have a district like that advertise, prostitution?
Not enough.
I can only think of one that does it, but I haven't been that many places. I mean, that's kind of... Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm thinking of America, though, so that's why.
Vegas, There's some places in Canada.
Vegas for sure.
I think Japan does, too.
I mean, everybody should.
Hey, y'all know about Hurley, Wisconsin?
No.
Hurley, Wisconsin is a small little town in northern Wisconsin, and there are 6 individual strip clubs along the main street in town. This town is so small, but it's like the stripper mecca in Wisconsin. It's absolutely fascinating, and the reason for that is because it was a prohibition hideout for Al Capone, and prohibition was never actually enacted up there. So even though that was way back then, some things still currently, Hurley is like a mecca for strip clubs and strippers.
Okay.
So there's a nice little bit of local history for y'all. You're welcome.
Okay. I'm from Wisconsin, too. I've never heard this before.
That's so weird.
Wisconsin's a weird place.
So weird.
It's a very weird place. I'm from Milwaukee, so.
So we're talking about Catwoman. I think my favorite gag in this movie is every time Catwoman tries to one-up Batman, he either gets blamed for it, and then there's like another scene where she's like, it's like Batman, his sidekick Catwoman, and she's like, oh, now I'm his sidekick? Oh, and it's just like, it's really funny that they keep doing that.
They do a good job with it. I also found it amusing how, like, when she buys the costume, she spends all the money they had, and the woman makes comment, like, you spent all our money?
Well, like she says, you got to spend money to make money, which is true.
It's very true, yeah.
Look, all I'm saying is if Anne Hathaway walked into my house wearing a maid outfit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool to see her in this, and it's cool to see the early Catwoman costume. I wasn't a fan of I didn't like the short hair on Selena Kyle. It kind of, I don't know, it wasn't like, I think it was just me, but I mean, she does look very powerful, and I didn't realize till after this was over that it was Eliza Dushku was the voice.
Who's that?
She played Faith in Buffy.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Great.
She was also in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. She was in the first Wrong Turn movie. She was on Fox's ill-fated Joss Whedon show Dollhouse.
That's a decent show.
I've never heard
It
of
was
that.
a good show, but Joss Whedon is a bastard man. So
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
You
he
get to see
is.
Eliza Dushku in a dominatrix outfit and everything for like a scene in Dollhouse.
this is a good time to talk about the rest of the voice cast in this movie because
Yes.
holy shit. You got Jim Gordon played by Bryan Cranston. Like fucking Walter White is playing goddamn Jim Gordon.
Wait,
Amazing.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a good job.
Yeah, he does a good job. That's Malcolm in Middle Dad.
Yeah.
I mean, I never watched Malcolm in the Middle, but man, that guy he can play some parts. Like you wouldn't
Very
think, the
diverse
guy
actor.
from a sitcom playing a father would be as good as an actor as he is.
You also got John Polito as Commissioner Loeb. I don't know if there are any It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans out there, but John Polito played Frank Reynolds' scumbag brother. He was also in The Crow. He was the pawn shop owner in The Crow.
Never seen.
He's got a long history of just being a piece of shit. And like as characters, I'm sure he's a very nice man. But he really outdoes himself here. You got Stephen Root as Lieutenant Brandon. Fucking Milton from Office Space.
I haven't seen Office Space in so long. I can't remember who that is.
He's done so many other movies. There's also a movie recently called Happily, directed by Ben David Grabinski. Very good movie. Stephen Root is amazing in it. I recommend it.
Okay. And we had
I was just going to mention Sarah Essen, the detective that Gordon ends up having a dalliance with. That is played by Katie Sackhoff, everybody's favorite Starbuck from the Battlestar Galactica reboot.
and in Mandalorian.
Oh, I only watched first season of Mandalorian.
She's in the second, I think. Is she
Well,
in the-
that's my
I can't
fault.
remember. Go watch Mandalorian. It's a good show.
I still have not watched the goddamn Mandalorian.
I think she's in both seasons, if I remember correctly. All of a sudden, my brain is not. Yeah, she's in both seasons. Pretty sure. Maybe. I don't remember anymore. Maybe she's only in season 2. It's been a while.
Point
Mandalorian's
being,
really good.
stacked cast, stacked voice cast.
Oh, and they all do a great job, too.
And of course, the previously mentioned Ben McKenzie as Bruce Wayne Batman.
Weirdly enough, the pimp is voiced by Steve Blum, Spike Spiegel.
What the hell?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Unbelievable.
Just gotta-
So,
I want to talk.
Famous people.
go ahead, Mike.
I want to talk about Brandon. Brandon, I think he was in Arkham Origins, but again, I can't remember because I did not look this up before we started recording. But I like the SWAT guy in this. I like how, because he kind of comes later when Gordon is starting to kind of take his own. I think Gordon is lieutenant now. He kind of has he's in charge somewhat. And you have Brendan, who's this SWAT team. Like they kind of say where when he goes in, there are no survivors. He kills everybody, including the people they're going in to rescue. Sometimes he don't care. And you really see that in here because you see him off and on. You see how Gordon is trying to control him. And at one point, because Batman ends up almost pretty much sacrificing himself and gets caught by trying to rescue a old woman or a homeless woman, it looked like, from getting hit by a truck that Gordon jumps on the side of and tries to stop. And the guy fell asleep, I guess, is what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I took it as like a heart attack or something.
Oh,
I
okay.
was wrong.
Maybe a zombie bite, he's going to crash into a gas station or something.
Hey, calm down. It's wrong world.
I love that reference.
But it was just like, and this is kind of what really sets Batman apart. And it also reminded me a lot of The Dark Knight too, where then because of this, Batman is exposing himself and he ends up having to like kind of knock out Sarah Essen, but he gets shot by the cop as he's running away because he's still not very good Batman. But you really get to see Brandon's character. Like before they even go in the building, that they don't even know if it's empty or not, they blow up the fucking place. They drop fire bombs on it. They don't even care who's in it.
Who in the goddamn hell do you have to go to? Can a fucking police commissioner approve of dropping a fucking firebomb on a building?
I don't think so.
Not in the
Pretty sure
real
no.
world normally.
No.
But this is it's Gotham, baby.
I mean, they just drop bombs. And you see pretty shortly that the place wasn't empty. You see even before the firebomb that there were people in here, but they didn't care because they were drunk winos. But who cares? Is what they put. And again, that's a very, that's unfortunately not a very uncommon look at that people have for people that are homeless and stuff. And Gotham is no different because it's a shitty ass city. Did a good job of showing that. And it's just like everything with him, like how the whole SWAT team comes in and like you see Batman really hold his own and take out the SWAT kind of one by one and, just start kind of tricking them. And, he tricks them into a trap and he takes them out and he's always trying to really show that fear, which I thought was good. You don't get Detective Batman in this, but you do get to see Batman learning how to use fear. He
also royally fucks up. He gets his utility belt caught on fire and sets off half his gadgets.
Which is fucking hilarious.
I mean, it's one of the things where you could put on the costume, you could get the gadgets, but you don't beta test these things half the fucking time. He even says it later on with which I'm pretty sure is now in every Batman movie, or at least Batman movie trilogy of the sonar that calls Bat.
I don't even want to get into that. I really don't, because I have my doubts if that would even work. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work.
I think it would work.
Not from that far away.
Yeah, I believe it wouldn't work that from away. But you know what, though? It's better than Morbius, so...
I have not seen Sony Pictures' new comic hit Morbius yet, so please no spoilers.
No one's seen Sony's comic hit Morbius.
I wish that was true.
Yeah, I've seen it, but not a comic hit.
Did you guys see he's already accepted the award, his Academy Award for Morbius?
That was a joke, right?
Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke.
I was gonna say he didn't actually go out there and be that stupid, was he?
I mean, it is Jared Leto, but
yes.
Anyways, rewinding because of a little bit of Batman stuff. There's a trend on TikTok which is how petty is Bruce Wayne Batman, and this one I saw recently, and it's completely hilarious. Which is Bruce Wayne is that fucking petty, which is my favorite scene in this movie of him tranking a whole bunch of dudes parked in their limos, and he's slowly setting up his stage to scare the shit out of all these rich billionaire assholes. And thankfully there was a fire pit or a tray full of fire that was able to set the mood, because that is just the best scene of him going, "You better enjoy this dinner because it'll be your last," and then he just disappears.
Yep.
But it fits.
And you'll wonder where the Red Hood gets it from. Jesus.
Yeah, no, I don't wonder where he gets it from, because that's totally him.
I also didn't realize that it was all the criminal elite that were there. I knew it was Falcone, you have Loeb, but apparently you have everyone supposed to be criminal elite that's there in this dining room. So it really shows you how Loeb is sitting here dealing with all these people who are well-known criminals. Because Loeb's a criminal himself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to give a shout out to one voice we forgot. The obstetrician who is talking to Barbara Gordon when she's about to have the baby. Voiced by Andrea Romano, longtime voice supervisor on the Batman the Animated Series, also last heard on our end as the voice of young Tim Drake from Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
Okay. Oh, Ken, you're going to kill me for this. So Bruce Wayne is 25 in this movie?
Yes.
Ish.
And Barbara hasn't been born yet. So in the world, Barbara would have to be 20 years out and make Bruce Wayne 45 when he sleeps with her and Killing Joke, right? Ken, I don't hear you.
Look, I say this from the bottom of my heart. Get fucked. That doesn't happen. It's not canon. They ruined the Killing Joke. I hate it. If you cut that off, that movie's fine.
That's what I really thought of this time. I'm like, wait a second. Barbara should already be born for this to be okay, because I mean, again, it's not that weird. I think for a 20-year-old girl to sleep with a 40-year-old man, I mean, it's not right, but it's not that weird. So, the way life is. But yeah, I was like, that really bothered me this time. I'm like, wait, that's not Barbara that's born? Oh God, like he's way too old for her when she's born. You know?
First off, mad props, Mike, because that has to be the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard. And then 2. It has to be true, Kenny. That's the whole reason why Dick doesn't like Bruce and Batman Beyond, because he got Barbara pregnant.
Oh yeah. We just lost him.
Yeah. Look,
it just bothered me. I'm like, this is not. I'm like, where? What? She should. No, she's too young.
Look, I said it in the review of The Killing Joke. I'll say it again. Current writers treating Barbara Gordon like the Bat Family fleshlight. Fucking disgusting. I absolutely hate it. It's a bad fucking look. And you know what? Why the fuck not? It's all Frank Miller's fault.
How is this Frank Miller's fault? Yeah.
I don't know. That's very much a him thing to do, though.
Okay.
I've read Sin City.
That's fair.
I didn't read it. I watched the movie, unfortunately. But that was enough. We reviewed it too on the show if you want to hear about it. I don't want to hear it, but it's there if you want to hear it. So I'm trying to think of some other things. Oh, and like when the whole scene, like when Batman is in the burning building and everything, he gets out, like it's very good to see him. Like it talks about how he beat the shit out of Brandon and stuff, and you know it's his way of like really clearing the field too. Because there's also a scene earlier where he beats the crap out of Flash, and Flash like, oh, I was trying to stop this drug bust, when really he was just, you know, he was part of the drug, you know, dealing, and Batman came in and kicked his ass too. But it also showed you like how much of a joke Flash was, and I liked seeing that, where it really was showing how Gordon was progressing through the police force and really taking charge, besides not being the commissioner yet, and people were respecting him, and the people that were all so corrupt were really losing their power and their influence. I thought that was really good.
But of course, when this happens, of course, there's going to be collateral damage.
My favorite part of that scene is like when Flash is talking about how, like, it's always cool to see people talk about, and there's a whole movie about that I hope we get to watch on here too. There's drawings of what they think Batman looks like, and one's just Man-Bat.
Yes.
The second one's just Zorro, and then the third one's actually Batman.
Are you talking about that Justice League Gods and Monsters movie?
No.
Oh.
Have y'all ever seen... They did it a lot back then. Have y'all ever seen like the Dante's Inferno movie that's based off the game? And like every level they do like a different animator.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, I have not.
Okay, that it's also different, but there's a Batman movie where it's 3 kids talking about 3 different sightings of Batman.
Are you talking about Gotham Knight?
Oh.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
I owned it. I got rid of it. I never watched it all the way through.
It's great.
BMX.
Yeah, these kids, like one says he's a robot, another one thinks he's Man-Bat. I think one kid's like almost accurate, except Batman like literally bleeds in the shadows. But all the kids' stories are drawn differently, and it's super cool.
Okay.
It is very cool.
Yeah, I'd be up for it. It's also part of the Nolan verse, I guess, too.
Yeah, doesn't what's his face voice Bruce Wayne in Batman?
Christian Bale?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember. It's been a while.
I never watched it. I got it for free with something that I bought and was really excited. Then I started to watch it, didn't like the animation, and never picked it up again. So, yeah. That's all I know about it.
Unfortunate.
Hey, I'm fixing them. I'm watching more animated Batman movies.
Which is good.
Now I've got to watch some I haven't seen before yet, and I haven't done that yet. I keep watching the ones I've already seen that I know I like to put on the show.
So, with Jim Gordon's inevitable pushing back against the system, there are going to be repercussions. And this is where the kidnapping happens.
Well, there's a few repercussions. Before the kidnapping, you had the repercussion of where they're calling Gordon and telling Barbara that he cheated. And she's like, yes, I know. He told me. You have that. But you're right. Then the kidnapping happens later, which is near the end of the movie.
Yep. So Jim Gordon is now a father. Barbara had a son, James Gordon Jr., who we all know grows up to be an immaculate piece of shit.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, same.
Oh, James Gordon Jr. is a fucking nut. He's a criminal of the worst kind.
Okay.
In some of the DC worlds.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that Yeah, because
Like,
sometimes doesn't she
he's-
not have a brother?
Yeah, like it's all over the place.
Hell, in one story we read, I don't remember what it was. She was adopted, I thought Barbara was.
Yeah,
I don't remember what
yeah,
story that
she was. That was shit in the back of one of the comics that we recently did.
There's been a lot.
Might have been War Jokes and Riddles.
Oh, yep, this probably was that. That's our most recent one. The Batman we recorded. Okay. Sorry, keep going. What you were saying. Before I interrupted you.
Anyway, Carmine Falcone gets a little upset, and he starts talking to his nephew, good old Johnny Vitti.
Is this the same Johnny that you like?
Yeah, it's Johnny Vitti from The Long Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't care much for
Okay.
Johnny Vitti. Johnny Vitti's a piece of shit because he's a mobster and he's just a bastard man. But
I know you love Long Halloween, so.
I do love Long Halloween. But Johnny Vitti, is going to do a thing, and Falcone said, no, we gotta play it carefully. We gotta play it carefully. And this is when Catwoman decides to rob him, which is problematic. But Catwoman robs him. Batman gets all the credit for it. This is where the news speculates that she's Batman's assistant.
Which pisses her off.
As fucking well it should.
Now, I was gonna. It's a question towards you, Kenny. So with this rolling out, and we're talking about the Long Halloween, how'd you feel about Harvey Dent his like 2-minute scene?
That was cool. I liked it.
Harvey Dent's 2-minute scene was fine. It was absolutely fine.
I liked it. I liked the fact that he was working with Batman and, he was a little, not following the law. It fit. But he wanted justice.
I
forgot about it, but it was good.
I think it worked out nicely.
It was a good way to bring in characters without making them feel like they didn't need to be there or belonged.
Oh, by the way, Mike, that was actually in Haunted Night.
Oh, okay.
Was the Barbara Gordon story where
That
she
was a
may have been
while ago.
adopted.
Okay.
That was a while ago.
I forgot about that story.
That was the Mad Hatter one.
Okay. That was a good story.
Where she gets kidnapped as Alice.
Yes. And like the whole thing, like, near the end of this movie when Batman does, and he follows Gordon, and like the whole reason why Gordon even turned around was because he saw some guy in a bike who ended up being, Bruce Wayne, who went there as Bruce Wayne, but he's hiding his face by, staying in the shadows, I guess. It's a very good scene to really see how he's still trying to make a difference, even though he's not who he should be. He's not, in his Batman costume.
This is probably one of the only times that we see Bruce Wayne do his vigilante business by daylight.
Yes.
And Bruce saves his kid. He'll regret that later, I promise you.
Also, this is where Bruce should really learn the lesson of, I probably should have worn the cowl underneath the helmet. That probably would have helped a little bit.
Well, it doesn't matter. Jim didn't see anything. He's practically blind without his glasses.
As a guy who wears all three of us wear glasses, so I think we can all believe that.
I see pretty all right without my glasses.
I can see, but I'm pretty blind as fuck. So I'm pretty blind. So I can believe it. But it was a good scene. It also reminded me a lot of Dark Knight too, like because it showed, that's why they become friends. Like to show that scene of having them, that's their bonding, where he learns to trust Batman.
And also, I think this really underscores that you can't have Batman without James Gordon.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because you need Batman to have someone on the inside that trusts him enough to work with him and give him the leads that he needs at time.
Man, Mike, you really need to watch the Batman.
I will.
You do.
I will for sure. We'll talk about it next month, maybe. So
then we have my favorite scene, which is ripped off entirely by Batman Begins, which is, I can't wait for Batman to show up. There's some asshole poisoning the water supply named the Joker.
Boo!
I agree. You didn't. I mean, I get why they did this. Is this in the original comic, Batman Year One?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's funny.
So but I agree. I was kind of like, at least he wasn't in this. It's just to show you that more and why they're trust. But I agree with you. It didn't. It's like Joker again. Can't we have a story without Joker?
There's a sequel to this called Batman: The Man Who Laughs. It's Batman reflecting on the first time he actually met the Joker. It's written by Ed Brubaker, famously one of the better Captain America and Punisher writers.
Yes.
But we're not going to talk about that now because I'm so tired of the Joker.
I mean, I think it's just a very common trope too to have a scene like that, to have something to do where the Joker is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know a little bit of the Batman from listening to people talk about that. There's a scene like that in the end of it, so spoilers, but I know it's referenced. So, I mean, Joker's always a thing. I get it. I'm just glad he wasn't in this movie for no reason at all.
Oh, me too.
Oh, the other thing I want to talk about, there's one scene where Batman goes to Carmine's Falcone's place and ties him up, hog ties him, and then gets rid of his car.
Oh, yeah.
I really
That
like
part's
that.
funny.
He's like, kill the bastard.
Boy, oh boy, that's almost exactly what Jim did to Flass, wasn't it?
He didn't
See?
hog tie him, though. But yeah.
More parallels. I'm telling you.
Also,
This guy was left in a bed, and it's a lot more comfortable than being, in the snow. Down in the snow. Like, a lot more comfortable. I'd rather be in the bed, tied up, not in the snow.
I also
Snow gets cold.
I also think that this is the reason why he got firebombed. Like, they knew it was the Batman. It's like, so we had something on the Batman. Okay, firebomb his ass. And make sure it's written on the firebomb that says, this is for my fucking car.
Oh, another thing I want to talk about that this movie does good, or has a scene, like later on you have a small scene also where Flash flips on Loeb, and then Loeb gets arrested and finds out that Loeb was in charge, involved in so much of this, and that's why Gordon then becomes the commissioner, which I like that too a lot. I like giving the reason why he became in charge and showing how corrupt Loeb was and how all the police are fucking corrupt in this, which again reminds me a lot of Gotham. Gotham.
It makes me wish like Gotham would have the scene where it's what's his face playing Commissioner Gordon, and when they make him Commissioner Gordon, they open up like the little like badge case, but it's not a badge, it's a mustache.
Not Batman really, but I've been watching different documentaries. I've been watching a documentary on John Wayne Gacy, and I've been watching a documentary on this guy named Johnny Seville in Britain. And in both cases, you had somebody where the police trusted and didn't listen to the people that were being abused. In one case, you had gay men that were being abused on John Wayne Gacy, and the police wouldn't even listen. Like, who cares? Like, they would in the 70s, they had nothing to do. And this guy's murdering people and put him under his basement. And then in another case with Johnny Seville in Britain, you had him abusing girls and boys who were either handicapped or in like asylum type places, and again, or hospitals, and again, nobody believed him. So it reminded me a lot of like the police not investigating it. Reminded me a lot of this. So it's your real life thing that from the 70s. Oh yeah, look up Johnny Seville.
Thing that doesn't happen anymore. Jeffrey Dahmer, Milwaukee.
Well, that was that was the 80s, right?
Late 80s, early 90s, I think.
I actually met somebody when I went to prom. My friend, his date, her aunt, I think was a detective at that time and worked on that case. But
it's weird. Like everybody of a certain age in Wisconsin knows somebody that was affected by that.
One of my English teacher once told a story, but he was outside the high school that was right by he ended a swim meet, and right when they came out, all these cops were everywhere. He's like, what the hell's going on here? And they just went on the bus to go back home, and it turns out they were arresting Dahmer, or, emptying Dahmer's apartment.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, no, it is true. So many people were affected. I mean, he had such an impact on the city.
I know it's either John Wayne Gacy or Jeffrey Dahmer. Someone has a true story that they actually met him, and they think that they're the reason why he adapted so well because they got a weird vibe off of him and they escaped his car. And one of the things that he did was like remove the locks and the handles on the car because
I think
people kept getting away. Okay.
Because with John Wayne Gacy, he would invite you into his house, and it was people he knew, which is always smart. Kill people who know who you are, so people can not connect the dots. And he would then handcuff them, and if they didn't get out of the handcuffs, well, then they were dead. But yeah, it just reminded me of police not doing their job, and it reminded me a lot of this movie. So I had to put it out there. Any other things to say about Batman Year One that we haven't in the movie that we haven't covered yet? You want to mention any scenes?
I feel like I probably covered everything that I wanted to.
Okay. I think we covered all the different scenes. We have Dominatrix Catwoman on our list, so we did that, yeah.
The only thing I could probably think of that I was going to bring up, but it lost my mind, but I remember it now. It's probably at least one of the, maybe a little cheesy, but one of the most normal ways of getting the idea to become Batman, of the bat flying in and sitting on his dad's head. Because I'm pretty sure the worst one I've seen is the bats lifting him out of the Batcave in Batman Begins.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That was pretty horrible, yes.
Oh, and there is... Oh, sorry, keep going.
Oh, I say my favorite one of all time is Batman Brave and the Bold, where Batman's dad dressed up as a bat for a Halloween party, and his dad's also voiced by the very lovable late Adam West. So
That's the original comic adaptation, I think.
ooh,
Like, the very original is his dad. It was a costume of his dad that he found, that he put on.
I believe it.
It's in the very, like, early Batman stuff. Like, Detective Comics, whatever the hell it is. I can't remember anymore, but yes. Oh, and last thing I want to say, I forgot about, is there's a small scene where Gordon thinks that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So him and Barbara go over to go see Bruce Wayne, and of course he hires some girl to be there and act drunk, and he's drinking, and at one point he just spreads his legs and just shows off his balls to Gordon's wife, and I just started laughing. And then after they leave, like, oh, there's no way that guy's Batman. And the girl's like, you guys are weird. You pay me $5,000 to just sit here? Like, what the fuck? And I'm just like, it was great. I really liked it. I liked him using his Playboy stuff as such a cover. And you don't, to see that kind of how it was starting to form, because he realized he had to have a cover so people don't suspect, like, isn't it weird that Bruce Wayne came back and Batman showed up around the same time? Isn't that strange, huh? And someone would need money to do this. Like,
yeah, it's sure fucking weird. I don't know what to tell you. Hey, check out my balls.
It worked.
I can't be Batman. I drink too much.
And then just the random girl that just there for no. I'm assuming she was a hooker or something, but it was just funny.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's everything I wanted to say in the movie. That should bring us to Shelf Stacker Box, and I'll go first. This is going to go on the shelf. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I enjoyed that this is a slower pace, less action-y movie. I mean, I enjoy my action movie, but it's much more. It's not even a detective film because there's not much. It's just very much of a movie that just a drama that kind of just pulls you in and keeps you going. And it's something that almost anyone could pick up and watch without having to have knowledge of Batman. And I think it's very enjoyable, and I'm glad to finally rewatch it because it's been years. So going on the shelf, and I'm really glad we watched it. What about you, Joe?
I'd probably go with the shelf. This is pretty decent if you want to show someone like a pretty good Batman origin story. Especially if it's like, we know a little bit about Batman, nothing at all. It's pretty, decent story.
Okay. And what about you, Ken?
Before I watched this again one more time today, it would have been a stack, but once it clicked for me, it's shelf.
Okay.
Gotta have it on the shelf. This is Batman Mask of the Phantasm is my favorite animated Batman movie. Bar none, hands down, easily. This might be the best animated Batman movie.
Okay. Not Son of Batman?
Fuck off!
I remember that movie being good, but I haven't seen it in years, but I do really want to watch it again.
I liked Son of
Can't
Batman.
be good. Damian Wayne's in it.
He's also in Batman vs. Robin, too.
Yep, can't be good. Damian Wayne's in it. He's a punk.
And if you want to hear more Batman, we have covered lots of Batman on this show. I'm going to start reading all those now. Batman Arkham Origin DLC, Cold Heart, Mini 19. Batman Under the Red Hood, Film 28. Batman War of Jokes and Riddles, Comic 35. Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, Episode 159. Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, Film 23. Batman Court of Owls, Comic 33. Batman Haunted Knight, which we referenced earlier, Comic 32. Batman Arkham Origins, Episode 139. Great fucking game. Batman Mask of Phantasm, Film 18. Batman Arkham City DLC, Harley Quinn's Revenge, Mini 13. Batman Arkham City, Episode 118. Batman Arkham City, Comic 24. Batman The Killing Joke, Comic 22. Batman Arkham Asylum, Episode 97. Batman The Long Halloween, Comic 17. Batman Death of the Family, Comic 8. Batman Hush, Comic 3. And Batman Episode 3, we covered the Genesis game. So that's all our Batman so far. And more is coming now. One day it's going to be me reading 3 different Batman names for no reason. But one day. So if you enjoyed those, if you enjoyed this, go check out other Batman. We do movies, we do comics, we do games, we do all sorts of episodes. Go check out our huge catalog. If you can't find it all on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, you can find everything on Podbean. You will find the whole catalog there, and there's definitely something for everybody because we record tons of shit. So definitely go check that out. I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Hasper. You can follow her on TikTok. She makes videos and makes music. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did the MCU Infinity Saga with me. He started his own podcast, Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely check him out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Only audio, but we are on YouTube. And if you want to help out the show, we do have a Patreon. You can vote every month in our Patreon poll, and we have different things that usually movies. So definitely go help us out. Helps out the show, and you get to affect what's on the show. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
So long.
See you later.